Okay, great. This is your Frontier Africa report. I am Boason, Omofaye, reporting for FAR. We've got on this very special interview, Cindy Ojogbo, the new managing partner at CLG. Of course, you already know CLG is a global Pan-African law and business advisory firm headquartered in Johannesburg, South Africa. Cindy just became the youngest managing partner of this international organization operating in more than 50 countries around the world. Great to have you on Frontier Africa Reports, Cindy. Congratulations.
Thank you, Boason. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Talk to me, your appointment as the new managing partner at CLG. How does it align with the recent transformation and expansion of CLG that we've seen, in particular for North Africa into the Middle East region? Let's start with that.
Thanks, Boason. It's been a very interesting time for CLG. I think my appointment as managing partner at this point in time closely aligns with, CLG's developmental goals, where we've been and where we're heading, where we see ourselves in the future as far as the African market is concerned and providing legal and regulatory services. This is a transformation that has been in the works for a long time now. We've been expanding across markets, signified by the growth that we have across 50 African countries. And the recent, alignment with Libya, with our partners in Libya, is a reflection of the hard work that the team has put in place over the years and the vision that we continue to align ourselves with. It was important for CLG that we have someone come into this role in a continuation from what we had in the past, and also to build off of the history that we've had in the energy space and, of course, our growth in other sectors. And, of course, continue the legacy, this very strong legacy that's been set for us from inception in CLG. So I'm really proud to have been given this opportunity, and I look forward to, all the great work that we would do on the continent with our team and for our partners.
Very interesting, Cindy, for raising the curtain on that. But, you look at the dynamics of the global and African energy industry at the time you're taking over as the managing partner. What will be the overarching vision driver for CLG for you as the new CEO, as it were, at this point in time when you look at developments within Africa, in Nigeria, in South Africa, in Northern Africa, for example? Libya just conducted its first energy round in many years. Nigeria is prepping for another round. We've seen a big energy news out of Sierra Leone, Senegal, in Ghana, and elsewhere in Kenya as well, for example, with the Turkana oil project and Gulf Oil making announcements that it could be the first oil in December this year and elsewhere. So the dynamics changing. So how much would that impact on what you have to do, how much you have to deliver as a new head of CLG?
Boason, you're 100% correct. We've seen a lot of activities in the sector, and just in 2026 alone. Recently, I think 2 days ago or yesterday, ENI, announced a new discovery in Cote d'Ivoire. There's movement in Equatorial Guinea with Chevron and the Aseng gas project. So there's a lot happening. And, it's interesting because what we can see is that the global energy narrative is no longer singular. For the African continent, sitting right at the intersection, there are multiple and competing realities. There's energy insecurity, energy poverty that needs to be tackled, energy additions, all of that we need to access to clean cooking, access to clean energy that we need to tackle on the continent. So for me in this role and for CLG as a global Pan-African law firm, our vision is really shaped by three realities, energy security for the African continent, which is back on the agenda. We're talking about, natural gas to power, infrastructure, investment, access to investment, local content, empowering local SMEs to participate and compete in this sector. We're also looking at energy transition. The energy transition narrative for us has moved, really. We're no longer talking about, just a generic energy transition. For Africa, it must be sequenced and must take into account, the African continent and what it is that, different African countries, the realities of different African countries. And third vision for us really is investors. Investors are looking for clarity, predictability, value in this country that they invest in, return on investment, which is very key for investors. So for us, we're aligned with working with governments, working on policies to ensure that we create an investable environment in Africa where investors are excited, if you may, to bring in these funds, as we've seen in the different, investment activities going on the continent, to revive the energy sector, ensure their security, alleviate energy poverty, and of course, make sure that there's value for Africans on the continent through the exploration of the natural resources that we have.
Interesting times, as you put it. You've seen a lot of African policy makers and others talking about beneficiation, value addition on the African continent. The new African Energy Bank is taking off anytime this year with headquartered in Nigeria, $5 billion bank, Afrexim Bank, and other partners who are supporting the African Energy Week, for example, over the years, and for the 2026 edition, will continue to support. So there's a whole lot of activities in the hydrocarbon industry. But is CLG just about the oil and gas industry?
No, I mean, first of all, we're fortunate to be at the forefront of some of these key transactions across Africa. We do deals, but importantly, CLG does not just do deals. We go beyond, your simple transactions. We advising on licensing regimes, advising on, policies. We also look at impact. What do we do in these countries to add value, not just to the legal system and regulatory framework, but to the people as well, the local companies and individuals working, not just in the oil and gas sector, but sectors that benefit or that, support the oil and gas sector. So we add value across the value chain. We participate in local content and capacity building initiatives, and we contribute to the deeper framework, of the country's ecosystem and economies. So I think we see ourselves as more than just legal advisors and tax advisors. We are partners, not just with government, but with investors to make sure that, what we're doing adds value. So what we do at CLG is to ensure that capital flows across Africa, and also importantly, capital stays in Africa. We see our work as a developmental one, and we are always looking to add value in whatever transaction that we find ourselves.
Mm-hmm. So just to begin to sum it up with you, Cindy, when you look at the geopolitics, the whole issue between Russia and Ukraine on one hand, the crisis in the Middle East, the Venezuela, United States, and you look at the hunt for energy by global economic and political powers, China, Russia, Europe, United States, the whole new tariffs and what have you. Do you think your work at CLG is getting a whole lot more tougher than before, the new world order, as it were, under President Trump? Now Europe is beginning to say we need to look after ourselves. They're looking to de-link Russia's gas moving forward. What are some of the benefits that these geopolitical issues or tensions will present for Africa, and how will the CLG be able to support Africa to maximize, to harvest some gains, as it were, not to let all this crisis just waste away for the continent?
Absolutely. I wouldn't say tougher. I think this is something that CLG and his lawyers are made for. We're made for times like this. I think we like to describe it as more interesting. These are interesting times, and the services that we provide are, within, interesting circumstances. And so we've had to be more innovative, more creative, more adaptable to the situations that we find ourselves. But I think that's the strong point, or that's the sweet spot with the CLG lawyers. We're across Africa. We're on the ground. We understand the market. We've worked in all the different markets in the world. I, for example, have worked in Nigeria, I've worked in the US, I've worked in Europe. I've worked with people in these different markets. So we understand what is required, to navigate this system and make sure that we're adding value to the deals that we find ourselves. So with the changes that we see happening in the world, I think that Africa is in a good space to benefit from these changes. You mentioned President Trump. Just last week at the mining in Indaba, we had the largest US delegation at the mining in Indaba, signaling that there is a desire to partner or work with the African continent to move forward in terms of natural resources, minerals, and of course the energy sector as well. That for me signals that there is work for lawyers, creative lawyers who are willing, to do the work, do the research, come up with creative and I would say economic or profitable solutions for government and of course for these investors. So it is an interesting time for us at CLG, and we're happy and super excited to be able to, contribute, even if slightly, to some of these advancements that we're seeing in these different parts of the African continent.
50 countries so far for CLG. Where are you going next? There are 335 countries and territories around the world. So you become the United Nations of the CLG. Okay. Yeah. So what will inform where you expanding to next?
Our office does look like a United Nations already. No, CLG, we're always excited to move. We're always excited to, bring on new partners, work in new countries. We're not afraid of frontier markets. We go to markets where people are afraid to go to. Think of the most, green markets. You'll find a CLG attorney there. You'll find me there, pushing the envelope, doing what we can to advance the law, to help our investors, help the government as well, as I said, because it's a two-pronged approach for us. So as we expand, really, our expansion is never, opportunistic. It's driven by, strategy and, of course, demand. We go to countries that are evolving. Is there momentum as far as investment is concerned? Is there regulatory reform, or is the market opening up to investors and on the way? You'll find CLG there. We're focused on, expanding in Northern Africa, as you've seen with Libya. We're also focused on strengthening our key markets. I spoke about Equatorial Guinea earlier, which is where we started out. The oil and gas market there has seen a lot of interest, a lot of activities in the last 2 months. And so we want to strengthen, the work we do there, the work we do in Congo, the work we do in Nigeria, as you mentioned, with the new licensing round on board, Sierra Leone as well, just supporting our clients, our partners, and of course the government to ensure that there is value coming into the country and being retained in the country. I think for us, anywhere there's value, there's CLG.
Of course. Cindy Ojogbo, thank you so much. Congratulations on your appointment as the new managing partner at CLG. I always see you around at the African Energy Week every year. So we're going to touch base with you on or before October back in Cape Town for the African Energy Week 2026. All right. Thank you. Thanks for speaking with us from here at Frontier Africa Studios at FMDQ Exchange in Lagos. Thank you so much. Have a great day.